My brother and I were enveloped in morning cartoons when Grandpa, Grandma, and Dad walked in, tears flowing. I had never seen my dad or Grandpa cry. While He-Man battled Skeletor in the background, they told us our mom was dead. They started to explain that she had had a heart attack in her sleep, but I ran from the room and dove under the bed in the guest room. My dad and Grandma came in and tried to talk me out from under the bed, but I wouldn't budge. Finally, my grandpa, speaking my language, lured me out with a whole roll of pennies. Being a young girl adjusting to life without a mom is confusing and exhausting. Over time, I did what girls do. I grew up. Life became less confusing and exhausting as I enlisted in the Air Force at 18 and met my incredible man, Kevin, a Marine no less. 3 months after meeting, we were married, and 6 months later, I was pregnant with our first son. Once again, life got confusing and exhausting. With every craving, ache, pain, and weird dream, I longed to call my mom for advice. I lived in constant fear that I would die young, as my mom did. Jackson was an easy baby, and we sailed along quite smoothly, stationed in California, then Germany, and on to Nebraska in his first 5 years. Just about the time we no longer had to deal with diapers or pull-ups, we found out I was expecting our next child. Time passed quickly, and after 3 years in Germany, we moved back to the United States a month before the birth of our second son, Gunnar. After a whole year in Nebraska, the Air Force sent us back to California. I had this whole mom thing down pat. I mean, my kids were healthy, sociable, confident, good eaters, and obeyed as well as I could imagine for a 6 and 1-year-old. I took all the credit, of course. I mean, folks, I was an awesome mom. But then, at 26, the unthinkable happened. I suffered a massive stroke. It came out of nowhere, possibly the result of birth control pills, but no one knows for sure. I was paralyzed on my left side and suffered massive right frontal lobe damage. My tongue and face were numb. The words I wanted to say were sitting expectantly in my brain, but they wouldn't come out right. I couldn't speak normally, and I was embarrassed. I didn't want to leave the house. This once vibrant mother became a pitiful shell of her former self. I tried to act as if everything was normal, but it wasn't. My moods were all over the place. My impulsivity was through the roof. My left hand and arm were almost useless, and I had the memory of an ancient woman. I didn't want to go anywhere or be seen by anyone. My kids didn't understand because there were no obvious injuries. No cuts, no bruises, and no scrapes to point out as boo-boos. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that mama has brain damage? I was trying to help my son in the bath one day, and I wanted to ask if he needed a washcloth to wipe his eyes. It came out as, "Do you want a washcloth?" He looked at me and innocently asked, "Why did you say washcloth 3 times?" I left the bathroom crying, and my husband took over bathing duties. I heard him trying to explain to our son for the millionth time, "Mama isn't feeling well. Mama got hurt in her head, so we have to have some patience. Do you understand?" Jackson shook his head no. Kevin tried to explain further to help this little boy get a handle on what was going on. "Well, Mama isn't like she was, but she'll get better. She's kind of broken right now, but she'll get better." Jackson looked confused. "What's broken mean?" Kevin thought for a moment and explained. "Broken is like when something doesn't work right, like when your toy is broken. Sometimes we can fix it, and sometimes we can't. But Mama's going to get fixed, and we can help fix her." Jackson perked up. "Mama is kaput." "Yes, son, Mama is kaput," Kevin half-heartedly responded. Our son, fluent in German, had finally understood what Mama felt like. Kaput is broken, no longer working or effective. Kaput is useless. From then on, it was this little boy's mission to fix his kaput mama. He turned into my little helper with Gunner, our dogs, even my physical therapy, everything. He was teaching me compassion beyond any comprehension. Months of physical and occupational therapy did little to help the coordination in my left hand. My son would beg me to play my therapy games with me because they looked like so much fun. Putting golf tees into little holes in a piece of wood, picking small objects out of a bin of rice, and picking pennies off of flat surfaces. They all made me nauseous as my brain fought to create new connections and restore fluidity to my fingers, but to a 5-year-old, they were tasks his sticky little pinchy fingers were made for. Jackson always wanted a race, and he lost all of that compassion as he won easily time after time after time. Beat you again, Mama, but don't worry, we'll play again, and this time you can try harder. No, son, we're not playing again, and I think you're grounded. I never did beat that braggadocious little 6-year-old at those games, and now at 17, there really aren't many things at all that I can best him at. But I can still beat my 12-year-old in a distance foot race. Barely. Time heals many wounds, and our brains are amazing. I struggle, my sons know it, but it has created a compassion in them for those with unseen injuries and a respect for their mama who rediscovered her energy and passion for motherhood and life.